minutes.
You're
Your baby
finally
is lying
asleep
there
too.
looking peaceful.
Or at least
Then
almost
suddenly,
asleep.
a tiny
The
leg
room
kicks.
is dark,
An
the
arm
house is
jerks.
quiet, and your baby is lying there looking peaceful. Then suddenly, a tiny leg kicks, an arm jerks, the eyelids flutter, the face twitches, the breathing changes. Maybe there's even a little squeak, a startled stretch,
Then
or a
suddenly,
full
a
body
tiny
wiggle
leg
that makes you
kicks.
bolt
An
upright
arm
and think,
jerks. The
"Wait,
eyelids
are they
flutter.
waking up?
The face
Are
twitches.
they uncomfortable? Is something wrong?" If you've ever watched a sleeping baby and thought, why are they moving this much if they're supposed to be asleep? You are not imagining it. Babies can look unbelievably busy while sleeping. In fact, some parents are more anxious watching their baby sleep than when the baby is awake, because sleep is supposed to look calm, still, quiet, peaceful. But
If you've
newborn
ever
sleep
watched a
often looks
sleeping baby
nothing
and
like
thought,
that.
why are they moving
And
this
that's where
much
the
if they're
mystery
supposed to be
begins.
asleep?
Because what
You
looks
are
chaotic to us may actually be one of the most normal, intelligent, and developmentally important things your baby does. Most people assume these movements are random, or that babies are dreaming, or that they're uncomfortable and unable to settle deeply. But the deeper answer is much more fascinating than that. A baby's sleeping body is not just resting. In many ways, it is practicing, organizing, and helping build the brain that will guide movement, sensation, and regulation later on. So if your baby seems to wiggle, jerk, twitch, squirm, or startle through sleep, this is going to completely reframe what you're seeing. Because once you understand what infant sleep is actually doing, those strange little nighttime movements stop looking like a problem and start looking like a clue. And the first clue is this. The most common explanation parents hear is not entirely wrong, but it's nowhere near the full story.
A lot of
A
parents are
newborn
told
can be
some
in a
version of
perfectly
this.
normal sleep
Babies
state
move
and
in their
still
sleep
twitch,
because
wriggle,
they're in a light
flutter their
stage of sleep,
eyes, change
or because they're
breathing rhythm.
dreaming, or because newborns are just noisy sleepers. And yes, there's truth in all of that. Babies do spend a huge amount of time in lighter, more active sleep than adults do. Their sleep is not as still, not as deep, and not as organized as ours. That
A lot of
means more
parents are
facial
told some
expressions,
version of
more
this.
limb movement,
Babies move in
more
their sleep
sudden
because they're in a
jerks,
light stage of
and more
sleep,
shifting
or because they're
between
dreaming,
states.
or
But here's the part that often gets missed. Those movements are not just background noise. They are not always meaningless leftovers of an immature system, and they are not automatically signs that your baby is sleeping badly. When adults imagine good sleep, we imagine motionless sleep. We picture stillness as the goal. But infant sleep plays by a different set of rules.
A lot of
newborn
parents
can
are
be in
told
a
some
perfectly
version of
normal
this.
sleep state
Babies move in
and
their
still
sleep
twitch,
because they're in a light
wiggle,
stage of
flutter
sleep,
their
or
eyes,
because they're
change
dreaming.
breathing rhythm, grimace, smile, stretch, or let out tiny sounds. What looks like almost waking can still be sleep. What looks unsettled can still be normal regulation. What looks messy can actually be healthy brain activity. That's why so many parents accidentally intervene too early. They see movement and assume the baby needs help. They pick them up, rock them, feed them, or fully wake them, when the baby may have just been moving through a normal active sleep phase. So yes, babies are noisy sleepers is true, but it's incomplete. Because the real question isn't just why baby sleep looks active. The real question is why nature would design it that way. And once you see what scientists have found about active sleep, twitching, and the developing brain, this stops being a cute little quirk and becomes something far more profound. One of the
This is
most
the stage where you're
important things
most likely to
understand
see
is
rapid
that
eye
babies,
movements under closed
especially
lids,
newborns,
irregular
spend
breathing,
a
little
striking
jerks,
amount of
mouth
sleep
movements.
in what's often called active sleep, the infant version of REM-rich sleep. This is the stage where you're most likely to see rapid eye movements under closed lids, irregular breathing, little jerks, mouth movements, stretches, and sudden twitches.
Your
In
baby
adults,
may
we
be in
often
one of the most
associate REM
active
sleep with
periods
vivid
of
dreaming.
brain-body
In
conversation
babies,
they experience
researchers
all
think it may be
day.
doing something even more foundational. Early in life, the brain is building maps. Maps of the body, maps of sensation, maps of where the limbs are and what they do. And one of the theories supported by infant and developmental neuroscience
is that those little sleep twitches may help provide the developing brain with exactly the kind of sensory feedback it needs to organize those maps. In simple terms, when a sleeping baby's leg twitches, the brain
is
gets
building
information
maps
back
of
from
the
that
body,
movement.
of sensation.
When a hand jerks, the nervous system
Those little
receives
sleep
data.
twitches provide the sensory
Over and
feedback.
over, in these tiny bursts, the brain may be learning the body from the inside out. Not with effort, not with wakeful practice, but during sleep. That's one reason researchers have become so interested in infant twitching. What used to be dismissed as meaningless may actually be part of how the sensory motor system calibrates itself. Not proven in every detail, and not something we should overstate, but compelling enough that scientists now treat these movements as potentially important developmental signals, not useless noise. And suddenly, the image changes. Your baby is not failing to sleep peacefully. Your baby may be in one of the most active periods of brain-body conversation they experience all day. But that still leaves one big question. If active sleep explains the twitching, why do babies also seem to move so suddenly and so unpredictably?
The answer is that infant sleep itself is built differently.
A baby's sleep architecture is not the same as adult sleep architecture.
Adults usually move into sleep with a more predictable progression and spend longer stretches in deeper, consolidated cycles. Babies don't. Their sleep cycles are shorter. Their transitions are less stable. Their nervous systems are immature.
A wiggle, a scrunched
And that means
face,
movement
a sudden
is often
stretch
built
with fingers
right into
open
the
wide,
process of
a
changing
brief
from
cry
one
that doesn't
state
even
to
turn
another.
into full waking.
Think about it this way. Your baby is not just sleeping. Your baby is cycling, drifting into drowsiness, entering active sleep, shifting toward quieter sleep, stirring again, partially arousing, then settling back down. And during those transitions,
The answer is
the
that
body
infant
often
sleep
shows
itself
it.
is built
A jolt,
differently.
a wiggle,
A baby's
a
sleep
scrunched
architecture
face,
is not
a
the
sudden
same as
stretch
adult
with
sleep
fingers
architecture.
open wide, a brief cry that doesn't even turn into full waking. This is one reason parents often say, "My baby looked awake, but then went right back to sleep." They may have been catching a transition, not a full wake-up. There's also the startle element. Young babies still carry strong reflexive patterns, and their systems are extraordinarily sensitive. A sound, a change in internal sensation, even the shift between sleep phases can trigger movement. Add in immature self-regulation and rapidly changing sleep pressure, and what you get is a sleeper who looks surprisingly busy. And here's the deeper twist. This restlessness is not always the opposite of sleep. Sometimes it is the shape sleep takes when the brain is still under construction. And once you understand that, the emotional side of this becomes just as important as the science.
For many parents,
Your baby may
the
be
hardest
moving
part
because
is not
sleep
the
in early
movement
life is
itself.
active,
It's the
transitional,
uncertainty.
and deeply
You
developmental.
see the squirming, the twitching, the little sounds, and your nervous system immediately asks, "Do they need me right now?" That question matters because your response changes the night. Sometimes your baby truly does need comfort, but sometimes they are doing exactly what a normal sleeping baby does, and the kindest thing is not to interrupt the process. This doesn't mean ignore everything. It means learn the difference between active sleep and actual distress. If your baby is moving, fluttering, briefly fussing, or making tiny noises but remains asleep, there may be nothing to fix. Pause before assuming every movement means wakefulness. Many babies can twitch,
For many parents,
stir,
the hardest
and even
part is not the
vocalize
movement
without needing
itself.
intervention.
It's the uncertainty.
At the same time,
You see the
there are
squirming, the
moments when
twitching,
paying
the little
attention
sounds.
matters. If movements come with a major color change, breathing that seems seriously troubled, long pauses in breathing, unusual stiffness, fever, or episodes that concern you even when your baby is awake, that's worth checking with your pediatrician. Calm reassurance should never mean dismissing your instincts. But for the vast majority of nighttime motion parents notice, the bigger truth is comforting. Your baby may not be restless because something is wrong. Your baby may be moving because sleep in early life is active, transitional, and deeply developmental. And maybe that's the emotional shift so many parents need. Not, how do I stop my baby from moving in sleep, but what if some of this movement is part of how my baby grows? Once that question lands, everything looks different. And that brings us to the final reframe. So why do babies move so much while sleeping? Because baby sleep is not miniature adult sleep. It is active, neurological, unfinished, and brilliantly designed for early development. Those twitches, stretches, facial expressions, and sudden little jerks are often signs that your baby is moving through
So
normal
why do
sleep
babies
states
move so
in a
much while
brain
sleeping?
and body that are still
Because baby
wiring
sleep
themselves
is not
together.
miniature adult sleep.
What looks
It is
strange from the
active-
outside can be perfectly ordinary from the inside. The busy eyelids, the kicking feet, the brief startles, the restless-looking moments that make you lean over the crib and hold your breath. In many cases, they are not signs of broken sleep. They are signs of baby sleep being baby sleep. And maybe that's the most reassuring part of all. Your baby does not need to sleep
So
like an adult
why do
to
babies
be
move so
sleeping
much
well
while
for a baby.
sleeping?
They do
Because
not need
baby
perfect
sleep is
stillness
not
to be
miniature
safe,
adult sleep.
normal, or deeply asleep. Sometimes the movement is the evidence that the system is doing exactly what it was built to do. So the next time you see that tiny midnight twitch, you may not feel panic. You may feel perspective. You may remember that beneath the blanket, beneath the strange little motions, a developing brain is hard at work in the quietest, most invisible way. If this helped you see your baby sleep differently, stay with this channel, because the more you understand what looks mysterious, the less frightening it feels.